Well, class, this is it. So today we're going to go ahead and do a review, and then you're going to take your final on Wednesday the 22nd, and there'll be a window open from Wednesday the 22nd till 11:59 on the 24th, the following Friday, and your or the immediate Friday after this week, Wednesday, and Friday the 24th, and then you essentially have an open book because you're going to have this material that you can refer to. You're also going to have the PowerPoints and all your lessons. So it should be pretty good, and I'll give you more detail on that in a second. Before I get started, let me give you some general housekeeping. Unfortunately, you have become the last class to be taking 2402. There was budget issues at OU. They had to cut a bunch of stuff, and I wasn't involved in the decision, but they decided not to renew my class. So the thing I'm really proud of, and I'm proud that you guys were part of it, is that we've had almost 700 students go through this, and I'll refer to some of the students when I'm talking to you about this class. As we get deeper into the review, I'm going to give you some examples, but it's working, and it's going to work for everyone if you engage and you do it, and if not, well, nobody can make you. Let me see. It's really exciting. Actually, the president sent me a note, and also it was, we went out on a high. And then as far as Learn and Retire, it will go on. Likely taking a more aggressive online, stance and trying to move from teaching hundreds to hundreds of thousands. Certainly, I think the world needs this. So that's that. By the way, I opened up this. I just did this. It was this whole presentation. Found out that each slide inside a PowerPoint like this holds about 3.5 minutes. So I guess I was talking to myself during part of it. So you're going to see the slides start to advance, and don't worry, there's nothing on them. It's just going to be the audio track for this. I'm going to do a focus group that you might want to be a part of. It's going to be a 10-year study. It's going to go ahead and have an annual survey. It's going to ask you questions, relative to the issues in 2402. Employment, continuous learning, networking, being wise with your money, and all the while building a plan for financial independence. If we said you can't squander your 20s, hey, let's start to measure it. And if you're interested in doing that, I think it would hold you more accountable to getting off to a really great and solid start. To qualify, you have to be committed to putting what you learned in 2402 into action. You will, like for instance, the 6 steps to financial independence. We'll get more on that in a second. Are you going to do it? I mean, do you really know it? My first job, I'm going to set up and I'm going to do it. So you get a stronger start in your 20s. For members of this focus group, I will make myself available for free to do coaching. But now it can't be. I can't reteach the class. It can't go back to day one and. But as long as you're moving along, you got a question here or there and you want to, I'll be available to do this, and then you'll have all this data. And then what we're going to do, we're going to compare the focus group with national averages for people who are leaving college right now. And I think what you're going to find is the people that implemented what we learned in 2402 did incredibly better. And then in a big way, you're giving back because you'll become a beacon of hope to other people who are going to try to nail their 20s. So if you're interested in that, send me an email to Alan, ALAN, at learnearnretire.com. Okay, and if you do that, then I'll take a look and we'll figure out, and I'm going to go ahead and select the focus group. It'll be at least 10 students. It could be larger than that. But again, only if you're really committed and you say, I'm going to do this, because some people take the class and they don't do what we preach, and some people take the ball and run with it, or some people say, well, I didn't get it all done this semester, but I'm absolutely going to do it. Those are the people that I want to have in the plan. Okay, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to remove the information from my YouTube channel. That's where it's been housing these audio over PowerPoint. But you'll have it for a little bit of evaluation. Okay. The next one is evaluations, and I know we're beating this one to death. I don't know why it's so difficult because they're short, but please do it. They got the OU evaluation, and then we've got the Rate My Professor. So far, 6 of you have come on to Rate My Professor. I'd really appreciate it if everyone did, but there's 150 of you, so we have a whopping 6 out of 150. Please do it in the OU evaluations, and that'll be the final. You'll have the final say-so academically on the class. So I urge you to do that, and I'm not going to tell you what to say, just what's ever in your heart, and what you believe and what you get out of it. That'd be great. It'll also give me guidance that when I start to put the stuff online, if I have to adjust and make things happen. Actually, I'm going to have something, it'll be a rendition of this very class online. There's going to be a paid-for version. There'll be bunches of it on YouTube as well. So that ought to be exciting and as we move forward. Again, the final is on, it'll be in Blackboard. It'll open up Wednesday, and it'll be due no later than 11:59 on Friday. So I'm not going to take any excuses if you couldn't get the final done. And if you have any problems with anything in the class, reach out now. Don't wait until Friday after, or the window closes Saturday, and then say, by the way, I need special dispensation because of this or that. I've been as generous as I can possibly be. The final itself is 35 questions, most of them multiple choice. There's 5 true false in there. And here's my basis. Nobody could have predicted what happened this semester. And you've had to be nimble. You've had to learn in a different way. You're probably hunkered down at your folks' place, and it's been hard on you. I'm proud of you. You've done a good job. I want you to do really, really well on this final. So I'm gonna kind of spoon feed you here, and you go through this, and you should be pretty cool. Okay. From this semester, let's dig into some of this. Should you follow your passion? People say, yeah, you should follow your passion. You do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life, and yada, yada, yada. And the answer from all the experts is no. Not what you're passionate about. Well, what are you good at? And then you go ahead and then you listen. Remember, Slootman's telling us, listen to the marketplace. And what are they asking for? And maneuver what you're good at into what's in demand in the marketplace. And that would change if you're going to be in education, or you're going to be in real estate, or you're going to be in pharma, or you're going to be in law. It doesn't matter. You listen to the marketplace, you apply your skills. And then when you start achieving, you get accolades, you start getting moved up, then you fall in love with what you're doing. And that's how you love what you do. Key to getting a job, figuring out what the problem is that the employer is trying to solve for. And then you become the solution to that problem. They're more apt to do well against that issue than if you weren't in the picture. And if you do that, you're going to be way ahead other job candidates. The number one objective for every job search, multiple offers. But let's talk about people, let's say, with this coronavirus. I mean, this is, so people that are 2 and 3 years out, I've gotten calls from alumni, and they're a couple years out, and they just got laid off. And it's really, what was exciting as a prof is that, someone said, I'm pulling out my job search radar. I'm dusting it off. I'm going to work from there. I'm going to mount a high activity process-based job search. I'm sitting there going, wow. And then I've got money in an emergency account. I got 4 months of expenses here. So I'm not worried. And so this stuff works. And this won't be the only economic shock you'll get. A pandemic is a massive one, but you'll be able to move forward and do really good. So if you were in the marketplace, it's not just multiple offers. You want an offer that puts you in a better job than the one you just lost or left. So you want to go ahead and move forward. Elevator pitch, that's the 25 to 30 second pitch about yourself. Succinctly, professional. It says what you do, and as you advance and learn more and accomplish more, you're adjusting your elevator pitch to reflect that. And it summarizes who you are and also what you want. And the real thing you're playing for is the person on the other end say, wow, cool, tell me more, okay? And then you've really started to get the foundation of selling yourself. Okay, the job search formula. You take your brand, who you are, what you bring to the marketplace, not how shiny you make it look. Not how nicely you put it in a resume. No, but your skills. What are you doing? Your personal development. Your brand. What you bring to the table. You multiply that times the great amplifier, which is your network. Who you know and who they know. Then you push that into a high activity, process-based job search in order to get, that's right, multiple offers. And that's the formula. So you've got to be working on all those dimensions. So where do you put all these networking contacts? We talked about that in terms of repository. So there's two, Google or Microsoft Outlook. Okay, and basically what you're going to do is that's where all your contacts are going to be. And you're going to want to make sure that they go up into the cloud and they go to your home computer device as well. So you got all your contacts. Why is that important? It's incredibly important because if you got laid off last week because you were in a marketplace, let's say 3 years, and you got laid off because of this corona pandemic, the last thing you're going to need to is lose any steam relative to your network. So if you've got it set up properly, you have all your contacts. When you start your job search, you're in a really, really, really great place. Where do most job offers come from? They come from what they called, Grandivetter in that survey talked about your weak ties, people that you don't see that often or you see rarely, seldom. And that's where most of the jobs come from. A little counterintuitive, but that's why when you build your network, you want a diverse network, and you want to get into network operating procedure, which we'll do that well, I'll do it right now. Got to have business cards. So remember, you give a card and you get one back. And if the person doesn't have a card to give you back, you've already given your contact information. It's now easier for you to get their contact information, and you want that. And then you put some bullets on the back of the card or in your notes about what you talked about. Then within 12 hours, you do an email tie down. Do most people do that? No, that's exactly why you want to do it, because you're going to go ahead and stand out. And then you're going to go ahead and you are going to take that and you're going to paste it into your repository. Let's say if you're in Outlook, the notes section in Outlook. Then if you want to refer back to that at any time, you realize, oh, this is where I met that person. Oh, yeah, I followed up like that. And that's just nothing but perfect. You do that within 12 hours so it's nice and fresh, and you tie down with context. When you mentioned this, it was good. And when we talked about this, boy, I came out of there really excited. Wow, that person listened. Again, it starts to move you up in the rare air of greatness. Okay? And then you want to go ahead and reach out to them on LinkedIn. And you always want to customize that LinkedIn invitation. Okay, so now expanding your network. You want people who are dreaming as big as you are. Overachievers. Or people who are at a station or at a place in their career that you're dreaming of getting to one day. And by adding them to your network, you start to go ahead and lift up. I just intentionally exposing yourself to that traffic, and then being thorough. They said it was great. Hoffman and Kashinosha in the great book, The Startup of You, said if you want to change yourself, that's right, change who you hang out with. And that's it. So that's all goodness. So on the branding front, what are the two characteristics of branding? Authenticity, honesty, authenticity and consistency. So you want to be authentic with what you represent, in the marketplace, and you want to be consistent. And then we talked also about the 6 steps to financial independence. I'm going to go through them right now. Number 1, establish an emergency fund. I mean, just think if you got slammed with a layoff and you were living paycheck to paycheck. Remember, 78% of Americans live like that. Emergency fund would be 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. And the person I just mentioned, the student, a couple of years ago, they're in the workplace. He had just bought his first home, and he's not nervous. He has 4 months worth of expenses, and he got a little bit of money when he left his employer. I think it was a couple of weeks. It wasn't much, but it was something. Okay. Number 2, you're going to set your initial 401k objective. And at minimum, you're going to go to the top of the match. If you have to have a roommate, you didn't want a roommate, but that's the only way you can pull that off. Do it. It's early in your career. And then you want to set a goal percentage. So you say, okay, let's say I start off with 6%. That's what my employer's going to match. So I'm going to take that free money. Perfect. And then just take a look at the incubation period, compound interest, how powerful that's going to be. Then you set a goal percentage. And all the experts say 12 to 15%. So you're young. Go to 15. Swing for the fences. And then will you hold your lifestyle flat for the first few years? So every raise you get, you push towards your 401k. And remember, the student retirement calculator shows you in 3 to 4 years, you'll be fully funded. Then you got that Angelina effect of compound interest, and it's roaring to your back. Beautiful, beautiful thing. You never apply income to expenses. You never go ahead and reach into that 401k to buy a car. You never reach in the 401k to get rid of credit card debt. You never reach in to take a vacation. That money is earmarked with compound interest to be your wealth at the end of your career. And then you navigate you navigate to debt-free over time, which is an intentional act. So you clearly want to go ahead and pull that off. So we talked about, how if you had to finance your first car, you didn't have the money set aside, the car you have is not reliable. You got to have reliable transportation for work. Okay. If you got a car now you can start saving up for a down payment on the next car, and you don't ever have to have a car loan. Perfect. But if you need to do it, no more than 3 years. Okay, 3 years. That was from Susie Orman, and I completely agree with it. And then what you do is you're going to drive it for more than 3 years, and when the payment's over, you're going to take half of the money and put it in a savings account earmarked for a new car. So now, new to you, you're not going to buy a new car. Of course, that's foolishness. But what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take your trade-in, the car you have now, take good care of it. You're going to take the money you have in a savings account. When you put those together and you can get a better car, go get your upgrade. But now you don't have car note going forward. And we showed you if you were to go ahead and eliminate, payments. Most people, the average car payment was, $535 a month. I'm doing it off the top of my head. I think it was something like that. That's not going to be on the midterm. It was the final. Excuse me. If you'd had half of that over the course of a 40-year career, you'd have nearly $1 million if the market was to, return an average rate. So you're in good shape. Heidrick and Struggles, the global, search firm, did a study, and they said your generation is likely to have 17 jobs. My generation's call it between 10 and 11 jobs. And you're going to have 17. Okay, so jobs are no longer careers. They're 2 to 4 year career stepping stones. Better be great at job search. Better be building the brand. Better be a lifelong learner. Better be putting money away. Okay. Then I'd review the stuff, and I'll give a little bit more on job fair over time. We can go ahead and talk about that. But it's a solo event. You want to go to that by yourself because you're going to be more prepared than your friends are. They come along and say, listen, we're going to split up, and I'll talk to you afterwards. Informational interviews. These are interviews. You're not asking for an internship. You're not asking for a job. You're asking for information that someone's going to go ahead and talk about their career journey and share it with you and see what you can learn from that. Beautiful thing. So, economic defense. We'll get to that in a minute, okay? But basically, offense, you make more money. And defense, you're wise with the money you spend. So I'll do it right now. They don't buy. This is from the Millionaire Next Door. Studied normal people with normal careers, but they did something different. What'd they do different? One, they didn't buy new cars. They never carry a credit card balance at the end of the month. If they have a credit card, they pay it off. They're not going to pay that stupid interest rates, stupid high interest rates. You got, they don't pay retail for name brand clothes. They don't replace what's not broken. They don't hang out with people that waste money, because then you'll drag into their bad habits and take vacations you can't afford, dinners you can't afford, and then they're pulling you in the wrong direction. And they don't think they know it all. They're always looking to seek and to learn more. Remember, we said just one financial book a year, from some of these great Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, David Bach, Terry Savage, really powerful stuff. Let me see. When should you start working on your brand? Now. But my friend my student that's going out to doing a job search, he doesn't have any time to work on his brand now. It's already done. And that's what he's representing during this search. So you've constantly got to be working on your job search. Or your branding, and also your networking. And then they're more formidable the next time you have to go ahead and exercise them. So now is the question. Again, we said this, and it's worth repeating. If you want to change who you are, change who you hang out with. Really, really, really important. Let me see here. Going all over the place here. A tool to help you stay organized during your job search radar. Students, alums, this is it. And you just grab the last one and you update it. But this is beautiful. That's why those of you who worked at Career Fair and did this well, you might have half a dozen recruiters from that Career Fair. So then next year, when they come to the Career Fair, you're calling ahead, trying to buy them a coffee at the front room. And things are going up. And if you're in a period like now, you're working virtually, you got contacts, and the people with the contacts right now have got massive advantage, and most people don't. So you want to be exceptional. We also looked at the Career Fair in 3 different innings, if you will, to the ball game. So that's the research. You got to know what the company does. 3 things: know what the company does, why you're potentially interested, and 2 great questions. And if you want to research quickly, the shortcut there, remember, LinkedIn, the company profile, and Google News. And you get moving on that. And then you have the day of, how you're going to go ahead and behave, and then post-career fair follow-up. And it was really exciting because a lot of people said they never worked a career fair like they worked it this year after our class, and they got great results. And that was wonderful to hear, because this stuff works. Let me see, what's the next one? The filter of 5. Remember that? You're going to compare different opportunities. You want to see, is it a growing, if not exploding market? In a market where you can learn. Or an environment where you can learn. Does a company have good training programs? Basically, you leave college, you're malleable. You're high potential and malleable. And how do they go ahead and shape you that makes you the career athlete you are to span a 40, 45-year career and really shaping your 20s. So you want a growing, if not exploding market. Number 2, an environment where you can learn. Number 3, resume panache. Wow, they're impressed with who you worked for. And then so that rubs off on you and it enhances your brand. And then solid stepping stones. You always want to ask. If I was to nail this job in 2 or 3 years, what opportunities would be available to me now that aren't available to me now? Or available to me then that aren't available to me now, by nature of the fact you've done such a good job at this. And then finally, you want to see where you can make some money, because money does count in life. But there you go. Economic defense, we already talked about that. Good debt versus bad debt. Good debt has return on investment. So like your education, you're going to make more money because you went to college and you're trained than if you didn't. So if you took on debt to do that, that's good debt. Bad debt would be something like if it depreciates, like a car. That's why we only say one car loan. That's it. Then it, if a camper, a jet ski, whatever, that stuff depreciates. That's bad debt. An expense. That could be dinner. That could be going to Orlando for a vacation. And here's the rule. If it is depreciable or it's an expense, if you can't pay cash, you can't afford it. You can't afford it. But America says just say charge it. So you look to your left and right and you think, well, they're doing it. I should be able to do it. Well, they're going to end up in oblivion and you don't want to be there. Let me go ahead and take a look at another thing here. Hang on, stay with me. So remember, informational interview, it's not about getting a job offer. I mean, you might get a job offer, but you don't set it up like that. You make it fact-finding. And people then don't feel boxed in or feel like you're going to hit them up for a job when they don't even know you. But at the end of the informational interview, they very well may say, hey, what are you doing this summer? What are you doing? So we've covered a lot of this now. I've got multiple pages of notes here. I just want to make sure I've got you well equipped. LinkedIn is not a repository. The repository is either Google or Microsoft Outlook. So where you're putting the information in, LinkedIn is a essential tool, but it couples with your repository. Now, retirement plans. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but you got to know there's things like the 401k and a traditional IRA, and you put your money in pre-tax. So you haven't paid income tax, you put your money in. The government will then tax the money as you're pulling it out 40 years from now. And then they had developed this thing called a Roth. And a Roth is really exceptional. Usually, Roths are unusual to get through an employer, but if you can get it, this is what you want, because the Roth is you pay taxes first, and then any money and then you put it into the Roth, and then when you bring it out, it's tax-free. But just think, if you had compound interest, remember Angelina and Betty when we talked about compound interest and all the money they made. If you have like a 40, 45-year career ahead of you, and that money is growing and growing and growing, and it comes out to you tax-free, that is enormous. I mean, ginormous. So you want to take advantage of that. And if you make too much money, you can't play with a Roth anymore. So in the beginning of your career is a good time to look. So it might be, we suggested potentially, again, I'm not an advisor, but you go to the top of your match. The employer match is like 100% of the first 6%. Boom. You do that, and after 6%, you open up a Roth at a brokerage house, and you're putting that in, and you're trying to get to your 15%. And if you could take the employer match and put it on top of the 15%, one day you will be happy you did so. We also took a look at Vanguard. Vanguard, they pioneered something called index funds, where it mimics like the Dow Jones or Standard & Poor, and they're great because they don't charge a lot of money to get into, and they have very, very low management fees. You could be dealing with a broker and you pay commission. Well, then that's kind of a conflict of interest. But anyway, that's one thing. And then also sometimes if you have a portfolio, they take a percentage, maybe 1%, 1.25%, 1.5% a year. Well, that comes off of whatever you're making in the market. The index funds are a lot, more cost efficient than that for the investor. I would take a strong look at index funds. The beginning, don't worry about the stock market. Focus on being great at your job. That's your money-making machine that will fuel all this. when you take a look at job offers, sources say it most often comes from people in your network that you see occasionally or maybe even rarely. And that's really, really powerful. So it says you need a broad and diverse network. And again, go back to network operating procedures that you're building. And some people go to a conference and they meet a dozen people and they grow their network. Maybe they take 6 or 8 of those that they follow up on because you're really impressed. And then those are lifelong resources. And then some people just don't do it. And it's a shame. Let me see. Remember we said there were some scenarios that you want to do. You want to be prepared for the following 4 personal finance scenarios. So there's your living scenario. That means you go to work, pay your bills, contribute to your emergency fund, contribute to your wealth building, and you live your life. Then the next one would be disability. I wouldn't start on this one now. I would work on living and retirement, but disability would be, God forbid you got in an accident or you had a medical emergency and you weren't able to work for a while. There's insurance that covers that. And then the next one is retirement. So you're going to be building on that. We spent a lot of time on that in the class. So building your wealth. And then one I would put off for a while until you have dependents and that kind of stuff is death. If I was to die, how do I take care of these people that I love, my family? Okay, so you have to be prepared for all that. So you got to be careful with this emergency fund. Emergency fund is for emergencies. Transmission goes out in your car. Yep, that's okay. Unemployment, you bet it. That's what it's there for. This is the shock absorber that you don't touch the money that you are earmarked to building wealth. So you really, really want to be careful. And without that shock absorber, people, when they get into a bad place, like right now you got laid off and you don't want to get evicted from your home and you don't want to get it foreclosed on if you just bought it, and you start eating into your retirement, you're starting all over again, and then compound interest is going away, and it's a very bad thing. So think of your emergency account as 3 to 6 months worth of expenses that's there for emergencies. And going on vacation is an emergency. Traveling to a family reunion is an emergency. Buying gifts at the holiday is not an emergency. This is for really serious emergencies. What's the number one objective for a job search? Obtaining multiple job offers. And again, if you're in the workplace already, it's getting a job better than the one you just lost or left. So we hit a lot of this already. I don't know. When it comes to job search, like anything, activity breeds results because your skills rise with activity and you're in front of more people and magic starts to happen. So you got to get moving. And I've given you the slides in PDF. I hope you use those for the rest of your career. I'd love it when I put a book out, if that made it to your bookshelf one day, or the YouTube channel and that kind of stuff. And that would be really, really exciting. That could be a resource for you. But job search, be ready for it. 17 jobs, 2 to 4 year stepping stones. You got to be great at it. So what percentage of baby boomers drag debt into retirement? Let this not be you. Mama, don't let your young people grow up to be boomers. 56% of people are dragging debt into retirement. It's horrible. Before the corona era that we're in right now, 1 out of every 2 college students were unemployed or underemployed at graduation. Horrible, horrible. Let that not be you. And then you need to become famous for something in your 20s. And the key to that is somebody that knows you is in a room and they're deciding who's going to head up the next project, and they start talking about you. You're not in the room. The biggest decisions in your career happen when you're not in the room because you became notable, accomplished, famous, Maybe that's overstating, but I overstate a lot of stuff. But you really want to be known in a big way. And exiting your 20s, you want to be in really great shape. Let me see. Is your home an income-producing asset? It's an asset, but it's not an income-producing asset because you're paying to live in that home. But if you were to move out and rent it, then it becomes an income-producing asset. If you were to sell it and put it in the stock market, maybe buy stocks that pay you dividends, it's an income-producing asset. But not while you're living there. So don't try to impress that, oh yeah, I'm in good shape because my home's got this kind of equity in it. It's captive equity. No. And then, will you have more than one economic shock in your life? Well, look at we had when we started talking about this, and here came spring break, and oh my God, talk about an economic shock. By the way, we're going to get through this. You'll do fine. And all will be well. And at least we know why the economy's in the toilet right now. It's because everybody's hunkering down, doing the right things. And they're doing it all around the globe. And then maybe we exit this thing learning some lessons about life and kindness. Okay? But, economic shocks are going to be coming. So that's why you have the emergency fund. That's why you're building your brand. That's why you want to be with a company that can withstand this. Because, 1 out of 10 people lost their jobs. 9 out of 10 still have their jobs right now, at least at this moment. And so, you want to be with a formidable employer over time. So there's corrections in the market, stock market. There's minor corrections. The high tech got overheated, and then there is major ones like these economic shocks like coronavirus. So there you go. And we talked about there were 4 in my career. Now make it 5 since I left college with corona. So you want to be ready for it. It's not if these things are going to happen. Of course they're going to happen. So finally, let me close on this. You can do this. You can have a great career. You can enjoy a great life. You can make your dreams come true. You can be financially independent, it's called financially free, which many people don't get to that, at a relatively young age. And I think one day retiring at 60, 65 is going to be considered young, especially if you're doing it with no debt and with enough assets that the wind is to your back and you're doing a great job. It was interesting as the coronavirus and pandemic started to unfold. Right after spring break, I'm teaching you these financial lessons via this online. And it occurred to me, if I had only done what I'm teaching you, what a better position I would be in than I'm in right now. And so, but nobody taught me. But you have been taught. So now go and implement it. Pull this off. And remember, it's a combination. You got to be great at work. You got to be highly employable. You got to be upwardly mobile. And you do that by dedicating yourself and exceeding expectations. And when you have a setback, or some people would say you failed at something, you learn from it and you come back from it. There's much more to be learned from failing than learning from succeeding. So succeeding goes to our heads. And then you want to be wise with the money you make and then get to this plan called financial independence. And if you do that, especially if you start as soon as you get out of college, you're going to be exceptionally successful. It's been an honor to teach you. You're my last class at OU. And I would just say I wish you great, abundance and success in life, however you define success. Some of you will define it more modestly. Some people have, higher expectations and grand plans. That's your decision. Make the decision in your heart. Don't look over your fence to see how you're doing. Look into your heart and look into your family's eyes, and you'll do just fine. I wish you well. Success to you, please, on the final and the course. And again, it's been an honor. Take care.